You drift into a universe far older than memory, where the last warm stars begin to dim, and you feel the gentle cooling settling around you, like a slow breath the cosmos has been holding for ages. You let yourself sink into that quiet temperature. A faint hush moving through your thoughts, as if night itself is learning how to deepen. You imagine the sky. You know, the familiar scatter of stars that once guided your eyes through childhood landscapes, the ones that felt eternal and unchanging. But here in this vast age they soften, grow pale and loosen their brilliance as though each one is a lantern running out of fuel, a tiny flame surrendering its last warmth. You move slowly through this fading light, watching how a star ages from the inside out. The way its core works tirelessly for billions of years, fusing simple atoms into heavier ones, releasing energy that glows across ancient distances. You picture it like a heartbeat, steady, persistent, giving shape to everything nearby planets. Dust clouds, wandering icy remnants held in orbit by that patient pull. Over time the star swells and cools its outer layers, drifting outward like a slow-motion tide. You feel the change, like watching an old tree shed its final leaves, not in grief, but in acceptance. The universe teaches you that even the brightest forms must someday yield to the rhythm of change. You let this understanding soften your breath as the star releases its last shimmering shells. The star contracts within itself, shrinking into a smaller, denser body, its heat a quiet ember rather than a roaring fire. You picture it as a coal left at the edge of a long-forgotten hearth, still warm, but no longer shaping the night. You hold this image, gently sensing how the light persists. But differently subtle, patient, nearly still. The universe feels cooler around you, and you notice how your own body responds to the idea of cosmic temperature. You sense the concept of heat, not as numbers or measurements, but as a story of motion. Every warm thing is simply restless, particles moving, dancing, vibrating, and every cold thing is their slowing, their resting, their surrender to stillness. You let this image guide your breathing into calm, steady waves. As you drift further, you see stars in all stages, some newly dimming, some already quiet. Their soft presence teaching you how long cosmic time truly is. You realize that these endings are not sudden. They are long, slow transitions, drawn out across ages far beyond anything human clocks can measure. You float among these gentle cycles, feeling the weight of patience settle into you like a blanket. You picture the last warm stars of the universe, tiny but persistent jewels scattered far apart, their light delayed by the growing stretches of space between them. You imagine reaching your hand toward one, not to grasp it, but simply to feel its endurance, its refusal to vanish, without completing every final whisper of energy you admire. That perseverance, as though it is a lesson the universe offers freely. Gradually the space around you cools even more, and the dimming becomes a kind of silence. Not the silence of nothingness, but the silence of a tired orchestra finishing its last note, letting the sound dissolve into the hall. You feel this ending, not as loss, but as a settling, a gentle closure that makes room for reflection. You drift closer to one particular star in its final stages, its outer layers stripped away, revealing a dense, faintly glowing core. You sense its temperature still intense, yet no longer bright enough to fill worlds with daylight. It feels like the warm stone of a sun-bathed wall at dusk, still holding the memory of heat. Long after the sun has set, you place that warmth in your imagination, letting it calm the spaces inside you that feel restless. This star will cool for trillions of years, growing dimmer, softer, until its light can no longer be seen by any nearby observer. You imagine that distant moment, a universe where only memory remains of the radiance that once carried life across its orbit. You recognize that even as stars fade, their elements continue, their atoms scattered into new forms, new clouds, new possibilities. You allow that continuity to settle into your thoughts like a quiet reassurance. As you move through this ancient cosmic dusk, you sense your own smallness, but not in a frightening way. Instead, it feels freeing, as though the universe is reminding you that you are part of a much larger story, one woven from the same atoms that once glowed at the hearts of stars. Your body, your breath, your quiet presence, all shaped by those ancient fires, you rest in that connection, feeling held by it. The dimming sky around you becomes a kind of guide, leading you into deeper stillness. As the last warm stars fade, you understand that this cooling is not an end, but a transition, a movement from brightness into something slower. something that asks nothing of you except to drift and listen. You stay with that horizon for a while, letting it settle into your awareness like a faint shimmer not yet formed, and you feel your thoughts drift toward it the way roots reach slowly for water without urgency or strain. In this drifting, you sense the mathematics behind the fading, the gentle decline of fusion, the cooling of remnants, and the stretch of expansion, and you hold these ideas softly, like feathers resting in your palms, noticing how even the heaviest truths feel lighter when carried with calm, steady breath. You imagine space continuing to widen around you, galaxies drifting farther apart, as though the night is becoming a great lake, whose shores separate grain by grain, and you picture yourself floating on that widening surface, watching ancient starlight ripple outward in thin, patient waves. You think of one last star, glowing faintly before you, and how its remaining atoms will someday scatter into the quiet, forming new clouds, new paths, new possibilities, even in a cooling universe, and the thought comforts you, settling into your chest like a small warm ember. And as this final glow softens, you feel a gentle question rising what remains when even this last warmth fades, and how the universe might shape itself in a darkness that is not empty, but simply waiting for whatever comes next. You breathe into that question, letting it expand softly within you, like a slow tide rising along a silent shore, and you sense that the universe too holds questions of its own, patient, open, unhurried, as though curiosity is woven into the fabric of space, inviting you to drift a little further into its unfolding. You begin by letting your breath fall into a slower rhythm, as if your body is settling into the gentle dimming of a cosmic evening. You imagine the universe holding a soft lantern glow, the kind that once belonged to the youngest stars, the ones that burned with certainty and radiant heat. Now, as you drift into this chapter, you feel those bright forms reaching the ends of their long stories. You picture yourself floating near them, not as a visitor who needs answers, but as a quiet witness to the way light learns to fade. You move through the space where stars have finished their burning. You sense the moment their fuel thins, when hydrogen becomes scarce and fusion, once a steady heartbeat begins to slow. A star, in that moment, does not die abruptly. It sighs inward. It folds slightly, like fabric loosening under its own weight. You feel that soft folding in your own chest, a reminder that change often arrives gently, without collapse or noise. When a star like your sun reaches the end of its fusion life, it leaves behind a white dwarf, a core that once burned brightly, but now glows only with leftover heat. You imagine this remnant as a warm stone held between your palms. It emits no new fire. It only releases the warmth stored from its vibrant past. White dwarfs shine faintly, slowly cooling over billions of years. They are the quiet ashes of sunlight, the last memory of a star's long devotion to radiance. You let yourself drift closer to this image. You see the star's outer layers drifting away like soft breath, leaving the small glowing core behind. Its light is gentle, steady, calm, an ember, not a fire. You sense how its cooling is not a tragedy, but a natural unwinding, like the dimming of a candle after a long night of giving light. You stay with that feeling, letting your breath match the slow exhalation of a universe that no longer rushes. But not all stars end in such peaceful quiet. Some live enormous lives, massive enough that gravity becomes a stronger sculptor than heat. When these giants exhaust their fuel, they collapse inward with unimaginable force. Yet even here, in this more dramatic end, you find something soft to hold. The collapse forms a neutron star, a city-sized sphere of dense, compact matter. You imagine it as a weight you cannot lift, yet its presence feels grounding. It spins, emitting rhythmic pulses like a lighthouse sweeping across the night. You feel that rhythm calming you, each pulse a distant reminder that even in collapse, the universe keeps its own steady time. You breathe with that rhythm, slow and even. A neutron star's pulses stretch across the cosmos, like whispers from an ancient clock. You picture these beams sweeping past you, brushing your awareness like a soft wind. Nothing about them startles. Instead, they become a lullaby of precision, a reminder that the universe holds patterns even in its darkest moments. Then you drift deeper, toward the most mysterious remnant of all. When a star is truly massive, larger than your imagination wants to hold, Gravity continues squeezing its core beyond the neutron star stage. It keeps folding matter inward until nothing can resist. The core becomes so dense, so compact, that it curves space around itself. A black hole forms, and here, in this strange beauty, you find a quiet softer than silence. You hold yourself on the edge of its event horizon, the boundary where light can no longer escape. But you remain only an observer. You feel no fear, only curiosity. The black hole does not swallow the universe the way stories sometimes suggest. It simply rests, shaping space through gravity alone, a dark well in the cosmic fabric. You sense how even this is a kind of ending, one that reshapes rather than destroys. You let the three cosmic remnants settle in your thoughts. White dwarfs glowing like cooling embers, neutron stars pulsing like celestial heartbeats, black holes resting in quiet gravity. Each is a story of transformation, not disappearance. Each holds the memory of a star's bright life. You imagine moving among them as if wandering through the cooled stones of an ancient hearth, feeling the warmth that remains long after the flames have gone. As you drift, you notice how the universe begins to dim over vast stretches of time. White dwarfs grow cooler, neutron stars slow their rotation, black holes continue their silent vigil. The cosmos becomes a calmer place, a place of shadows and gentle remnants, where heat grows scarce but meaning still lingers. You relax into that dimness, letting it feel not empty but peaceful, like a night that asks nothing of you. You begin to sense the chapter's soft closing, the way the light fades even more gently now. The stars have left behind their final shapes, each one a quiet echo of the brilliance that once was. You feel those echoes settling around you, guiding you toward the next question. What remains when even these ashes cool, when the last warmth finally slips away into deeper night? You breathe into that wondering, letting it open gently like a door into a quieter future. You imagine drifting farther into epochs so distant that time itself feels stretched thin, as if the universe is sighing between each moment. You picture white dwarfs cooling until their glow becomes too faint for any eye to see, transforming into black dwarfs, cold, dark stones floating through endless night. You linger with this idea, letting the stillness surround you like a blanket, softening the edges of thought. You imagine neutron stars slowing, their once precise pulses lengthening into pauses, until their rhythm fades into silence. The cosmos holds them gently, not as fallen giants, but as memories carved into matter, dense, unmoving, yet deeply patient. You stay with that patience, letting it seep into you, helping your breath fall into an even slower pattern. And then you drift to the black holes, the silent wells of gravity that persist long after everything else has cooled. You picture them waiting across unimaginable stretches of time, slowly evaporating through the faint whisper of Hawking radiation. It is a slow release, softer than anything you can feel, like warmth escaping a stone long after sunset. You imagine each black hole shrinking, fading, disappearing into the dark, not with violence but with the quietest goodbye the universe has ever known. You float among these distant futures, feeling how the cosmos grows lighter as its remnants dissolve. The universe becomes a place of near-perfect stillness, where only faint particles move through endless night. Yet even here, in this deep quiet, you sense something tender, a kind of spaciousness, an opening, a breath that has waited across eternity. You feel yourself resting inside that breath, unhurried, unbound, held by the softness of a universe that has finally grown calm. And as you rest there, you hear the faintest question rising from the darkness, gentle and unforced, asking you to wonder what deeper mysteries might emerge when even the last traces of starlight fade. You move now into a darker part of the universe, a region where light itself hesitates. You feel as if you are floating toward a quiet shore, where gravity whispers instead of shouts. A black hole hangs before you like a shadow carved into space. Not a violent creature, but a patient one. Its presence is soft in this distance, a dark pearl resting within the quiet sea of night. And as you drift closer, the universe seems to exhale, as if preparing you for a story that has taken billions of years to unfold. You feel the boundary of the black hole before you understand it. Space stretches gently, not in a painful way, but like a deep breath drawn slowly over time. This boundary, the event horizon, feels like the edge of a dream. Once crossed, even light cannot return. But from where you are, it simply looks calm, a silent surface where the rules of time bend inward. You imagine touching it with the tip of your thought, the way you might rest your hand on still water. You sense the strange comfort of a place where time folds so deeply that it nearly stops. Yet you are safe where you float. You observe without falling. You watch the way space bends, the way the stars around the horizon smear into delicate arcs. Their light curves like brush strokes pulled across a cosmic canvas, gentle and elongated. It feels almost peaceful, the way all things slide toward the center, not rushed, not chaotic, just following the soft gravity that shapes every moment of the universe. Inside the black hole, time does something unusual. You imagine it as a river narrowing, its flow tightening until it becomes a slow, inward spiral. To anything crossing the horizon, time stretches like warm honey. From the outside, it appears frozen. From within, it moves forward, but in a direction that space itself has folded into. You don't need equations. You can picture it like stepping into a valley so steep that every path leads downward, inward, deeper toward the center's pull. This is the singularity, not a point of terror, but of extreme simplicity, where space and time become one direction, one motion, one inevitable inward breath. But today you are learning something quieter, something almost tender about black holes. You learn that they do not last forever. They may seem immortal, carved into eternity, yet even they carry the seeds of their own fading. This fading comes from a process almost too soft to notice. Hawking radiation. You picture it like the faintest glow around the edge of darkness, a tiny candle burning from within a shadow. It is not the black hole shining. It is space itself producing a delicate heat at the boundary. Particles appear in pairs, one drifting inward, the other drifting outward. And each outward step steals the smallest grain of mass from the black hole. For now, the black hole hardly notices. It is still massive, still deep, still quiet in its gravity. But Hawking radiation works patiently. It does not hurry, it does not force. Its rhythm is measured in ages so long that your mind can barely rest around them. A black hole with the mass of a star will evaporate only after a time far longer than the age of the universe as you know it. You feel this timescale like a slow tide rolling across eternity, a tide that moves so gently you might mistake it for stillness. You imagine the black hole as a great mountain of time. From afar it looks unmoving, unchanging, but every moment is a soft subtraction, an atom of mass drifting away, a breath released. And the more the black hole fades, the faster its evaporation becomes. What begins in silence ends in a final bright whisper. Over unimaginable ages, the black hole shrinks, becoming lighter, smaller, warmer. The heat grows as its size dwindles, until one day, in the far future of a universe colder than thought, the black hole will glow in a final burst of radiation, a last exhale of energy, a soft farewell. You feel the patience required to understand this story. You feel the length of time expanding within you, stretching your imagination to hold an era beyond eras. The universe in that far future will be different from the one you know. There may be no stars left, no galaxies, no warm dust drifting between them, only the quiet remnants of what once burned. And even those remnants, these black holes, will eventually give themselves back to the empty fabric around them. Nothing stays forever, not even gravity's darkest cradle. You drift now around the black hole's event horizon, circling it like a slow, thoughtful moon. You listen to the silence it carries. You sense the accumulation of all the matter it has swallowed, the starlight, the orbits, the fragments of worlds, the long history of falling dust. Everything the black hole holds is compressed into its weight, pressed into a state the universe cannot reveal to you. And yet the black hole does not feel violent from here. It feels ancient, like a stone smoothed by time, like a memory too deep to translate. You picture how black holes shape galaxies, how they anchor the centers, holding stars in their orbits with a quiet gravity. Not by consuming everything, but by being heavy enough that their presence organizes the space around them. You imagine each galaxy like a vast swirl of fireflies, circling a single dark lantern. Even in their darkness, black holes give form to light. They create order, they sculpt the spirals of galaxies and the drifting arcs of stars. Their weight becomes a kind of guidance. And yet, the greatest lesson they offer is not their gravity, but their impermanence. Their endings teach you something about the universe itself. Even the darkest objects, the ones that seem eternal, slowly dissolve. Even they give their energy back. You feel comfort in this balance. Nothing wasted, nothing hoarded, everything eventually returned to the quiet sea of space. Time lengthens around you. You feel the universe breathing in slow centuries, slow millennia, slow ages upon ages. In this stretched rhythm, you can imagine the last black hole shrinking. You can imagine its glow intensifying as it becomes smaller, its remaining mass burning away in a final soft radiance. And then, a brief burst, a last light in a dark universe. A sigh of energy spreading outward. After that, there is no more horizon, no more shadow, no more weight. The black hole is simply gone, dissolved into radiation that drifts into the thinning expansion of space. You linger in this thought. You feel how gentle the ending is, not explosive in any violent sense, but simply inevitable, like a candle reaching the end of its wax. A quiet release, a soft transition, and as you drift away from this black hole, letting it recede into the deeper dark behind you, you begin to wonder about the universe that remains after such endings. A universe with no stars, no galaxies, no glowing remnants. Only the slow expansion, the cold fabric, the widening emptiness. You ask yourself softly, what continues to move, when even the last black hole exhales its final breath? You drift now in a universe almost entirely quiet, where the last warmth of radiation floats like tiny lanterns across the vast dark. Each photon is a memory, carrying a whisper of a time when stars were young, when galaxies burned brightly, and when light had purpose in the crowded spaces of creation. You watch these flickers gently stretch, their wavelengths softening into reds and then into colors the human eye can no longer perceive. They are faint, slow, and deliberate, like waves brushing against a distant shore, and you feel your own mind slowing to match the rhythm of their passage. The cosmic microwave background is all that remains of the afterglow of the Big Bang, a soft hum that once resonated like a newborn universe singing into existence. You imagine it now as a gentle sea of heat and light, its temperature dwindling as the universe expands. The more space stretches, the thinner and colder this radiation becomes. Each photon drifts farther from the next, isolated in the widening emptiness, yet still moving, still carrying a story from the moment everything began. You float among them, feeling how even emptiness has its own pulse, a subtle heartbeat that beats slower and softer with time. You sense the faint vibrations of this radiation as it passes by. Not sound in the usual way, for there is no air, no medium to carry noise. Yet you feel it in the subtle sway of your awareness, in the weightless motion of the universe itself. Every flicker is a trace of energy, a reminder that even in silence there is motion. You imagine each photon as a tiny traveler, stretching its wavelength, letting its energy fade into the cold dark. This fading is gradual, a quiet surrender, not a disappearance. The universe is not violent in its endings. It is patient, infinitely patient, letting each last photon drift wherever expansion carries it. Galaxies themselves have grown distant, their light taking longer and longer to reach you. They are faint smudges now, drifting further apart, isolated by the relentless stretch of space. You imagine standing on the edge of a cosmic ocean, looking toward a horizon where everything is dim, where waves of light no longer collide, where the last sparks of heat have begun to mingle with the gentle darkness. There is serenity here. You breathe slowly, feeling the calm that comes with understanding that even as light thins, the universe continues its quiet expansion, its eternal unfolding. You float among the afterglow, watching photons stretch beyond visible color, their energy now almost imperceptible. You imagine the warmth they once carried, once enough to spark chemistry, to ignite stars, to awaken worlds, and now reduced to a whisper of possibility. The glow has not gone entirely, it is merely softer, subtler, fading toward invisibility. You feel as if you are listening to a long-forgotten song, Notes once bright and clear, now thin and fragile. Still present, but barely audible. The universe sings in whispers now, and you listen, letting its music soothe your mind. The stillness carries a rhythm, though it is unlike any beat you have known. It is the rhythm of expansion, the slow stretching of space itself, the movement of distances growing ever greater between everything that remains. You feel yourself moving with this rhythm, gently, weightlessly. The photons glide past, stretching in wavelength, slowing in their energy, but never stopping. Even as the last light dims, the universe continues its patient motion. There is no rush, no urgency, only the endless flow of time carrying everything softly forward. You imagine the temperature of the universe falling ever lower. It is colder than the coldest night you have known, colder than the deepest shadow in space. Yet there is comfort in this cold, a serene quietness that feels like the universe is wrapping itself in a blanket, tucking in its components for rest. Even the photons, the last whispers of energy, move through this cold with ease. They are stretched thin, yet they continue, patient and persistent. Their journey a gentle testament to the universe's slow unfolding. You think about the paths these last photons have traveled. They have journeyed across billions of light years, crossing voids that once teemed with energy. They have seen stars live and die, galaxies form and fade. They have drifted past nebulae, through empty clusters, past the remnants of cosmic fireworks. And still, here they are, faint, resilient, stretching quietly through space, as if honoring the memory of creation. You feel their history brushing against your awareness, a soft touch of everything that ever was. You notice that as these photons stretch, their energy diminishes. Wavelengths become longer, frequency drops lower, and their impact on matter becomes nearly zero. They are moving through a universe that is increasingly sparse, a universe where collisions are rare, where interactions are few, where energy is almost entirely dispersed. Yet in their journey, they are still present, still moving, still measurable, if only faintly. You sense a beauty in this near-nothingness. The universe has not stopped, it has only softened. Its final expressions are delicate, fleeting, subtle. The faint glow you follow now seems like a vast ocean at night. The waves, almost imperceptible, yet endless. Each photon drifts like a small ripple across this dark sea, never colliding, never dissipating entirely, simply stretching outward with the expanding cosmos. You feel the enormity of space here, and yet a calm intimacy arises from the awareness that even in the void, the universe is alive with motion. Each photon is a note in a song that will play as long as space stretches, a melody that grows quieter with time, but never completely silent. You drift alongside these particles, imagining the scale of time that allows them to persist. They have existed almost since the beginning, carrying information about a universe long gone, yet still moving. You feel your thoughts align with their pace, slowing, stretching, letting go of urgency. You are immersed in this flow. A gentle observer of the fading light, feeling its quiet persistence, the softness of its passage, the elegance of a cosmos gradually slipping toward complete darkness. Even as the light fades, you sense a residual harmony. There is no panic in absence, no tension in the diminishing glow. The universe moves according to its own subtle rules, its natural expansion carrying all things gently onward. You imagine a place where even light grows too long, too thin to illuminate, yet its existence lingers as a whisper in the fabric of space. You feel a calm patience, the slow surrender of energy to the vast nothing, a reassurance that endings can be graceful, measured, and quiet. And as you float in this darkening sea, surrounded by the last flickers of radiation, you sense a profound question arise, delicate and weightless, hovering just beyond your reach. What happens when even light forgets how to shine?